Hey friends, it's Sarah from She's Crafting, She Knows It, and today I'm going to show you how I made this super cute cable knit pumpkin using a real pumpkin. So this is a fun little craft you can do while your kiddos are like decorating their own pumpkins, carving them or something, and you can grab yourself a real pumpkin and decorate it in this kind of cute farmhouse, shabby chic kind of way. I just love how the cable knit design looks, especially sitting on my hand knit blanket. So go ahead, grab a real pumpkin and let's get started. Okay, before you get started with anything, I recommend just taking a damp paper towel and wiping off the entire pumpkin and then drying it off just to make sure you got off any kind of dirt or stuff that's on there so that it will be easy to move on to the next step. Okay, so first you're going to go ahead and grab a Sharpie, and we're just going to use the Sharpie to draw the cable knit design on the pumpkin. So honestly, I just went to Google, typed in cable knit patterns, and looked at the different results that came up and chose which patterns I liked the best and then drew those on the pumpkin. You don't want to use designs that are way too complicated. We're actually going to be using hot glue and a hot glue gun to do these patterns. So pick kind of things that are a little bit more simple and then draw that design all the way around the pumpkin. Now, of course, I'm doing a cable knit pattern. If you want to do like polka dots or write your family's last name or something else in calligraphy, you can do whatever you want. But for this, we're going to be doing a cable knit design. So go ahead and draw all the way around the pumpkin and we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so next, all you're going to do is trace over all of the Sharpie lines using your hot glue and hot glue gun. So make sure your hot glue gun is plugged in. It is already really hot and ready to go. Now, of course, this is using a lot of hot glue, so it can get a little bit messy as far as making strings and stuff on your pumpkin. If you're used to using hot glue, you kind of know that it makes strings when you kind of stop squeezing and then squeeze the glue out again. It's okay, we're going to get rid of those later. So just go around. I use different techniques as far as like squeezing the glue out and then kind of using the tip and then pushing the tip back into the glue that just came out to make little bumps. There's no right or wrong way to do this. So just kind of use your own technique, come up with a way that you find you like how it looks, and go ahead and just go all the way around the pumpkin, covering up every little Sharpie line with the hot glue and hot glue gun. Now, to be honest, this is definitely the hardest part of the whole thing, mainly because your hand might get a little bit tired. I know for me, my hands are like not the strongest, so after squeezing for so long, my hand was kind of tired and kind of stuck in like a gun position. So take breaks when you need to, and then just go ahead and finish hot gluing. And if for some reason you kind of have a blob of glue or you mess up somewhere, you don't like how it looks, don't worry about it. Just let the glue cool off. And once it's cooled off, you can actually just pop it right off and then redo it again. So this is totally a forgiving craft. So don't worry if you accidentally have a little oopsie somewhere and you need to redo it. Okay, so now it's time to go ahead and clean off the pumpkin. So I'm just using a tiny little paintbrush to kind of lift off those little glue gun strings that get stuck on there. So go around, if you don't have a little tiny paintbrush, just use like the eraser end of a pencil or a toothpick, something small, but just be careful as you're pulling the strings. You don't want to pull too hard and actually pull up part of the hot glue design. If you do, of course, you can just use the hot glue gun and redo it, but just be a little bit gentle as you're going around the pumpkin cleaning it off. Okay, so here's a close-up look of my pumpkin and the hot glue design on it. You can tell it's messy, it's not perfect. I didn't even go perfectly over the Sharpie lines. My Sharpie lines are all over the place. So it does not need to be perfect to look good once it's painted. So don't worry about it. I actually didn't even take every little hot glue string off of the pumpkin because some were just too hard to get off and I was afraid it was going to peel up the hot glue. So just don't worry about it. It does not need to be perfect. Okay, next you want to use whatever you have on hand to go ahead and wrap the stem completely so that it will not get paint on it. I honestly just used foil and masking tape and it did a great job. Okay, so now it's finally the fun part, painting your pumpkin. So I went ahead and used this paint that is paint and primer mixed together in a flat white. Of course, you can paint your pumpkin whatever color you want, but go ahead and get your paint ready and start painting all the way around your pumpkin. So at first, it's going to kind of look like the paint is not going to cover the hot glue and it's not going to cover all the Sharpie lines, but don't worry. You're going to do several coats. I did several coats all the way around the pumpkin straight in a row. I did not take breaks, so I didn't give it time to dry or anything and just kept going around about 3 or 4 times, and it completely covered all the Sharpie, all the hot glue spots, and it looks so good. Now, if you are not used to spray painting, my biggest tip is to do light coats. So when I say that I went around several times without taking a break, I was doing really light coats. If you get the nozzle too close to the pumpkin and spray really thick, it will drip and leave kind of globs and it'll look really drippy. So scoot back and just do light coats so that it's evenly painting the pumpkin without leaving drips. Okay, so I've let the pumpkin sit for a couple hours. It is completely dried and it is time to unwrap the stem and touch up any spots that we need to. Okay, so now I'm just using a tiny little paintbrush and some white craft paint to kind of go around the pumpkin and touch up a few little spots where maybe I over taped it with the masking tape and a little bit of orange is peeking through. So if you have a craft paint that matches the spray paint you used, go ahead and do this. If you used a very specific color of spray paint, like a sage green or something that matches your house, and you don't have craft paint that color, you can actually just spray some spray paint straight onto a paper plate and like kind of a concentrated squirt, and a bunch will come out, and you can use that with a paintbrush to touch up your pumpkin as well. So like I said earlier, it is a little bit fragile with the hot glue on the pumpkin, so if you pick at it, it will pull the hot glue off. So this is not really a craft that you want your little kiddos picking the design or anything like that. So set it somewhere where it can be on display, but it's not going to be kicked around or picked at by your children. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up and make sure you subscribe for more videos. Bye!